This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm bringing you segments of an interview I did with Jason Parker. We're talking about 3 numbers you must know to retire with confidence. Jason is a best-selling author. He created the Retirement Calculator, and he's the host of Sound Retirement Radio, which is a very popular podcast, has over 1 million downloads. I've included links to his podcast and other resources that we talk about in the interview in the show notes, so be sure to check those out. And without further ado, here is today's interview segment with Jason Parker. So the last number you talked about had to do with longevity. Talk a little bit about why that number matters so much.
Well, I'll tell you, the first time when we built the calculator, this was a little bit grim, but we would show people how many days that they had lived in the calculator. And then we would show them based on life expectancy, how many days they had remaining. So it was, if you're doing
it at like 60, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have that much time left. It doesn't seem like, that much if you are looking at it in terms of days. We all know how fast a day goes by.
Oh man, boy, do we ever. But yeah, so I think the number was, if you made it to age 65, you had lived 23,725 days. And if you lived to life expectancy, you had 6,205 days remaining. This was not a very popular feature in the calculator. So,
I'd be like, 6,000 days. No, let's spend it all now. Let's go for broke.
Right. Well, that was the idea. Like, the reason I structured it that way is because I wanted to create urgency in people's lives. It's like people live like they have forever to go do the things that they want to do. And we don't have forever. I want people to live with a sense of urgency, but I think it was making people depressed. So we removed that. But from life expectancy, we always like to start with Social Security mortality tables. That gives us, 50% of people are going to live that long, 50% will die before, and 50% will die later than what the Social Security mortality tables show us. Once we have some idea for life expectancy, so, a guy that's my age, Social Security says I'm going to live to about age 80 right now. But I know that I've got family members that have lived well into their 90s. So what you need to do is you need to take stock of your own health and also your family history and make adjustments to the average. So if you know that everybody in your family's made it to age 92, maybe we need to be planning to age 92. Mm-hmm. The other thing that's really exciting right now is medicine, science, technology are getting better all the time. And these advancements in medicine are going to keep people alive longer. Whether or not that's necessarily a high quality of life is a different story. Mm-hmm. But I'm really optimistic about some of the advancements that are happening in science. I read a great book by Peter Diamandis and Tony Robbins called Life Force. And it was really eye-opening because it's not a topic that I follow closely. But the purpose of this book was to go out and interview some of the top doctors in our country and top researchers to talk about what's happening in the medical community. And it's very inspiring, very encouraging to see the advancements that are being made in longevity, and not just lifespan, how long you're going to live, but how healthy you're going to be later into later years. And I don't know if I think I did. I think I saw in your email that you mentioned you started playing pickleball recently.
Yeah.
And I'm also a pickleball player. I have been for the last 2 years or so. But it is so humbling to walk out on the court and have somebody that's 80 years old and they just whoop you.
Just annihilate you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have that happen. And I'm a lot faster than, I'm not fast, but like comparatively, yeah, because I'm half their age. But they still kick my butt.
Right. I love that, though. I love that we can be active. And a friend of mine, he just had his second knee replacement surgery. He's in his early 60s. And he's going to be a beast on the pickleball court as a result of these advancements in medicine. It's really fun. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's so funny. So I find longevity, and you know this because you run the numbers, but it's always shocking, I think, when you really play around with that lever and you say, okay, if we only plan that you're going to live to 82, let's say, the numbers usually look pretty great. But if you plan that you might live to 92, then that changes things. And so it is a real risk, that you could live longer than you expect. I think, I don't know what your anecdotal experience has been, but in my experience, I think people expect that they're going to live not as long as they actually live. So they think, I'm only going to live to 75 or 80 or 85 at most. Like that, if I live to 85, that would be longer than any of my parents, grandparents, etc. But then they live to 90, 92, 98. And then that's when, you start running the real risk of running out of money is that maybe you only planned for a 20 or 25-year retirement at most, but then you're needing to make your money last for 30 or 35 years. The longevity issue changes a lot of those decisions. And that's I think of all the numbers, that's the hardest one because obviously no one knows our expiration date. But if you're planning and making decisions about Social Security and how much income you're going to take from your investments and all these other factors with a set expiration date in mind, and that doesn't work out, then, you could be going back to the drawing board.